I'll start off with a case. This was a 67-year-old lady who underwent a C4 to 7 laminectomy with resection of an intramedullary ependymoma. As you can see, she has now presented to us. Her initial neuro recovery was very good, but over the last 7 years, she has progressively severe neck pain and has now presented with tetraparesis. Her JOS score at presentation is 7. So this is the entity which we will be discussing, that is post-laminectomy kyphosis. So I'll be talking a bit about the anatomy, some radiographic measurements, risk factors, the clinical presentation, treatment options, and most importantly, prevention. In terms of anatomy, extensive multi-level laminectomy removes the posterior tension band. That puts additional compressive load on the anterior vertebral body. It results in worsening of the sagittal deformity and results in a kyphotic angulation. Over a period of time, the spinal cord is draped over the posterior vertebral body and patients may present with mechanical neck pain and neurodysfunction. There have been various radiographic measurements to calculate, which include the C2 to 7 lordosis, the C2 SVA, the chin-brow vertical angle, and the T1 slope, which is equivalent to some of our pelvic parameters. In terms of risk factors, patients who are predisposed to post-lami kyphosis include those with a pre-existing neutral alignment or a pre-existing kyphosis, extensive laminectomies wherein 4 or more number of lamina are removed, laminectomy that goes to C2, which has the most important attachments of the posterior band, aggressive facetectomy, particularly when both sides of the facets are removed. There is a higher risk in intramedullary tumors, as was seen in our case. Studies have shown that these patients have associated denervation of the paraspinal muscles. There is a higher risk in pediatric age group because their bones are not completely ossified and the cartilaginous end plates cannot take compressive loads. Tumor cases which are subjected to post-op radiation also show higher incidence. These patients usually present with pain. So this pain is fatigue pain because they have to put in efforts to maintain horizontal gaze. It's also due to extensive degeneration of the posterior elements. They may have an altered head position in severe deformities, so there can be feeding, swallowing, as well as cosmetic concerns. These patients may also have direct compression of the cord and ischemia-related injury leading to myelopathy. So coming back to the case, we have various treatment options which include anterior, posterior, and a combination of approaches. Regardless of what treatment strategy we use, the goals of surgery remain neuro decompression, correction of the deformity, and achieving a solid bony fusion. In this case, given the flexible nature of the deformity, we went from the front and C5 corpectomy with an ACDF above and below was done, with fibula, allograft, and local bone. In this case, we did not augment it posteriorly, which could have been an option, but patient was immobilized for quite some time. We opted for a hybrid corpectomy discectomy because studies have shown that multi-level corpectomy have a higher complication rate. In terms of preventive strategies, preoperative planning is important to identify the at-risk cases. So some of the risk factors which we described, this case is a different case which was during my residency at KM. So this was a young boy with a peanut tumor which was operated by multi-level laminectomy. You should have an appropriate case selection when you are going for a posterior decompression alone. So patients with a good lordosis, sagittal alignment, and the K line, which is usually used for decision making. You should not be hesitant to add a fusion, particularly patients with neutral alignment or neutral alignment on extension, and the at-risk cases which we mentioned above. Adding a lateral mass fixation helps in preventing this. Laminoplasty is one procedure which has been described. There have been varied studies for and against it, but given the fact that there is less soft tissue dissection, this is a viable alternative to laminectomy, and studies show that it may be associated with lesser extent of post-laminectomy kyphosis. Whenever you opt for a laminectomy, you should be careful with your muscle dissection, particularly at the level of C2. Avoid disruption of the facet joints and be careful with bone removal in laminectomy. So to conclude, the best treatment for any complication is prevention. If you do get a case of a post-laminectomy kyphosis, you should pay attention to deformity correction principles. While correcting the deformity, you should have respect because you are dealing with a compromised state of the cord, so you should be careful with the cord handling. You may have to do a front and back procedure to strike at the 360-degree instability. Regardless of the fixation modalities that you use, pay attention to meticulous bony fusion for a long-lasting result. Thank you for a patient listening.